I'm Mark Steele. I'm a weapons systems head-up display expert, one of the leading experts in the world. I've actually brought cover in relation to this. The reason I became an expert was because I invented them. State of the art.
"5G will connect the Internet of everything. If something can be connected, it will be connected in a 5G world." But with the predictions of hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers, you can be sure of only one thing: the biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined.
So this morning, I'm in Darlington at work, where I've come across this. Look at this. 5G masts disguised as trees. Masts disguised as trees. Look at them there. Look at that. See them? That's not even a tree. That's not a tree. That is not a tree. See that at the top there? See the masts? So they are actually hiding masts as trees up here in the northeast now. This is absolutely shameful. Hiding 5G masts, big tower masts, as trees. I mean, that is an absolute outrage, absolute outrage. People need to wake up to what is going on here. If there's nothing in these, why would they want to hide them? Why would they want to hide these with trees? You can just see that there. There we go, can you see that? There's a mast as a tree. A fake tree. Fake tree. Fake tree. Abysmal.
Your favourite conspiracy output, you know, whether it's the alternative media, any alternative media group's not covering 5G, they're covering it up. It's cover up. So just dig into them and find out who they really are. Anybody not covering 5G, you're covering it up. That's a crime, because this is genocide. Right, here's a matter of fact. We've got a bit of kit, right? I took a bit of time pulling it to bits. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show people. Let's just get it back there. This is a 3,300 watt relay. Some clown seems to think this here, 3,300 watt relay. Some clown seems to think that was just a spare. So the spare, you know, put them on the system. This is an ARM chip, very, very powerful piece of hardware. All right, not for switching lights on and off. All right, let's just dispel that. Only an idiot would think that. I mean, a complete idiot, by the way. These are 450 volt capacitors. See, there's a bank of them. There's a bank of capacitors here. Now, what a capacitor is, for those that don't know, it actually holds a charge. All right, it holds a charge, it increases the charge, and then what it does, right, it actually fires that charge. Once you fill the capacitor up, it can fire it off in a split second, and they're used to try and give it layman's terms understanding. It's what they use in a photographic light emission. So you know a flash, so these large flashes, you hear how they charge up, the nice charging sound, and then all of a sudden, bang. Yeah, you've got that, right? Well, that's what those capacitors are for. You see this one? That's what they call a supercharger, a super capacitor. All right. Now these output in farad, right? This is a super one, massive amount, right? Massive amount energy. It has the massive capacity. Some donkey says that the reason why they're on here is in case the lights go out and they need to keep the lights on. See some of the chips in there. Right, some interesting hardware. That's an MOV. That's for anything that overgets. But have a look at all the gold. Look at all this gold. I mean, this is an expensive, very, very, very expensive piece of equipment that they don't expect to fail. So anyway, let's just keep on that. Anybody calls anybody conspiracy theorists, overblown it. Believe us, that's a weapon system. That's what that is, right? I'll tell you what. I would like to guarantee, right? I'd like to guarantee, I have a bet on anybody to tell me that is just some sort of controller where you send a message back to a control room. That's just a masquerade. That's just a masquerade for the fools who are putting them in. All right.
Audience Services, Philip speaking. How can I help?
Hello, Philip. Philip, I watched somebody directed me to a part of one of your programs, Click. They've repeated a couple of times. It was on yesterday. I've just watched it online. Where the BBC are debating and discussing, you know, this 5G risk to the public. Now, part of it was obviously a fabrication and a fraud, absolutely deplorable. The BBC are basically a criminal enterprise, a conspiracy to not give the people of this country the actual information. They actually did a measurement next to a transmitter, 5G transmitter. What I can tell you, that transmitter could not have been on. They need a 115 metre exclusion zone as a public exclusion zone when they are on. So that transmitter could not have been on, and your lying reporter, right, a criminal, was actually right next to that transmitter. I can tell you now that was an absolute fabrication of the BBC. Not only that, they had a scientist, a so-called scientist, not a scientist at all, a criminal, another criminal from a university, stating that there's no evidence to show that non-ionizing radiation causes damage, DNA damage or cancer. That is a complete and utter fabrication. This criminal, it is unbelievable how you can allow these type of people on your TV. I mean, this is as bad as Jimmy Savile.
Here's the key.
In towns and cities across the UK, a tech revolution is slowly being born, one antenna at a time.
Bit by bit, 5G is becoming a thing, and while all the infrastructure might look a bit dull,
yeah, this new network is going to be so fast that we'll be able to download in a heartbeat and stream video to multiple devices at once. In order to allow this to properly take off with high speed and minimal delay, we're going to see lots of new antennas, each serving small areas. And some of them may use much higher frequency radio waves than previous mobile networks.
but having these antennas everywhere has given some people pause for thought. They believe that 5G radio waves can cause health problems, and they're campaigning for the rollout to be halted. Now, this protest group is small but vocal.
It does seem to be growing.
So Paul Carter went to Brighton to meet some of the anti-5G movement.
Prove that it's safe! Prove that it's safe!
Hove, near Brighton.
Say no to 5G! Say no to 5G!
It may not be the first place that comes to mind when thinking of the front line of protest.
Prove that it's safe!
But campaigners here are making their feelings known about plans to introduce 5G masts in the area.
What do we want? A ban! When do we want it? Now!
The World Health Organization, Public Health England and the NHS all say there is no sufficient evidence to say 5G poses a risk to health. However, that has done little to placate campaigners. Earlier this year, one parliamentary petition calling for more research into 5G attracted more than 29,000 signatures. So what are their concerns?
Who decides who's guinea pigs? Who's deciding to roll this out and test it on who? Who are going to be the lab rats, the lab mice, whatever you want to call us, because it's not safety tested. If someone said to me, fact, 5G is safe, if our government came to me and said, fact, 5G is safe, fact, it's been tested by the telecoms industry, I wouldn't probably have the concerns that I have, but to me, there's no fact there from them.
The industry, however, have a very different view.
Campaigners will say 5G hasn't been tested, and if it's not been tested, it shouldn't be rolled out. What do you say to that?
I hear that line a lot, and it fundamentally misunderstands what 5G is. 5G uses technologies that have been in use in all countries for decades now. The type of frequencies that they use, the radio waves that they're using, they're the same ballpark of radio waves that have been used and tested and tested and tested for decades. The technology that goes into the antennas doesn't fundamentally change the way that those radio waves behave. So whilst it looks and feels like a brand new technology from a marketing perspective, its roots are actually, in inherent mobile radio technology that's been tested and used for decades now.
DoD's active denial technology and future solid-state active denial technology system will produce a focused beam of directed energy to provide our troops a non-lethal option to stop, deter, and turn back suspicious individuals with minimal risk of injury. For the military, active denial technology can be used for both force application and force protection missions. Applications include crowd control, perimeter security, patrol and convoy protection, and other defensive and offensive operations from both fixed site or mobile platforms. While the active denial system advanced concept technology demonstration succeeded in demonstrating a large-scale version of active denial technology, a smaller scale, more mobile version is being developed by the U.S. Army and the DoD's non-lethal weapons program, utilizing solid-state technology.
Ultimately, is this a battle you can actually win?
There will always be a small number of individuals who do not want to hear from large corporations like us. And there will always be a huge group of people who don't have any concerns about this technology. There might be a group in the middle who could be swayed, and I think that's the group that where there is a battle to be won, if you like. We do need to make sure those people have access to the right information, that they can make an informed decision and not be misled by what is some pretty aggressive scaremongering.
That was Howard Jones talking to Paul Carter. And to try and address the concerns of those who may still be undecided, we've come to this rooftop in London to take some measurements from a 5G transmitter. And we've drafted in some independent experts to help.
Dr. Richard Findlay is an electromagnetic field safety specialist, and he's going to be measuring the strength and frequency of the radio waves at different distances from the mast.
So first we're going to put the probe right up on the middle of the transmitter.
Yes,
okay,
that's right.
Let's go for it.
Middle, come down.
And your maximum reading was?
550.
551.6%. So basically, if you were to strap yourself to that transmitter 3 meters up there, you'd be getting 5 times the guidelines.
Yes, you'd be overexposed.
Okay, but no one's going to do that?
No.
Okay, so shall we go over there, which is, what would you say, there's 2 or 3 meters in that direction, and see how the signal drops off?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh wow, 14.5. So even over that distance, we've gone down by a factor of what is that? That's 50, more than 50 times?
550 down to 14.5.
Okay, so down to less than a fifth of the government safety guidelines.
Yes.
Real science, which I hope has helped you to understand how safe 5G signals are. And just for extra information, we're now taking a reading at head level here on the roof, right next to the 5G transmitter. And the number is kind of bouncing around the 2% mark. So even if you're walking on a rooftop next to a 5G transmitter as we are, you're still 50 times below the recommended safety level.
Who knows if they have a wireless smart meter on their home? Okay. And who has their smartphone in their pocket right now? Great. And who's read the fine print in your owner's manual that says that the smartphone should never be within about an inch of the body? We can no longer assume that our wireless technology is safe.
We do not believe that we should spend the next couple of years studying what 5G should be or how it should operate and how to allocate spectrum based on those assumptions.
A lot of people have been asking, right, the reason why this is a weapon, right? I wanted to explain in a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to give them a little bit more in depth. I'm also going to give them a little bit more technical breakdown, because obviously a lot of people are still not getting it. All right. So these LEDs, right, are bare elements. Right, are bare elements. This was designed to harm. The definition of a weapon is a device that's built to cause bodily harm. These will cause bodily harm. The retinal cell toxic. They'll blind you. That's why people are suffering a great deal of eye stress, etc. when they're on motorways. What they're not being told is this will develop into central nervous system, eye cancers, etc., etc. All right. You see this? What a beautiful day! But you see how bright that is against very high blue spectrum light in midday. All right. That's lethal, by the way. Must wear protective eyewear. And what I'm going to show you, watch. Right, just keep that there. Watch, you see the top of that tree, see how it's snapped, see how it's dead, broken at the top. Look down there, see the state of that bark. I'm going to show you some bark that's been killed. I'm going to explain something to you, how it's designed as a weapon. You see that's a fluorescent light in a ceiling there. It's actually in a diffuser for a reason, so the actual light from the fluorescent bulbs doesn't catch your eye. You see that? It's in a diffuser for a reason. Now, these don't have a diffuser. These aren't fluorescents, by the way. Fluorescents are pretty risky. There was a scientist at DSTL who did some really interesting work on it. I'm not going to name him, but it was about sick building syndrome caused by fluorescents that hadn't been fitted correctly. So the building regulations in a building, you must have fluorescents in a diffuser, so they don't make the people in the building sick. All right, these got no diffuser. There's no diffuser because this was designed as a weapons deployment. All right, look, this state of that. That's what's happening to your trees. Think what it's doing to you. No wonder people are sick and dying. People are sick and dying. That's just a matter of fact. The radiation levels that we're measuring in GARRETT are illegal. In people's bedrooms in particular. Look at the state of that bark. Right, this is all these transmitters. The illegal transmitters are being fitted covertly and secretly on the top of those lights. Alright? Totally and absolutely illegal. Well known, optical radiation is a hazard. It's a biological hazard and will cause harm. These aren't fluorescent bulbs, by the way. These are LEDs. These are blue. The most dangerous part of the spectrum, the blue, with a phosphor, that doped with phosphor, and that phosphor wears off over time, so they become more toxic. So the ones that you see on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the ones that they can't control with this fake controller, it's only masquerading as a light controller, and the reason why the lights are on, right, and because it is a fake controller, and I'll explain to that later, they become more toxic over time because as this phosphor wears off. Now, any small pollinators attracted to those LEDs will die. AMA, American Medical Association, did a fantastic report on that. It was published in 2016. ANSI's, Public Health England have all warned your councils about the risk. Now, ask yourself this question. Why is your council deploying? They're supposed to be bankrupt, they've got no money, but they're spending multi-millions of pounds on this rush out, this deployment, this UN Resilient Cities agenda, and they're supposed to be bankrupt, short of cash. I think Sheffield City Council, it was a £2 billion secret contract with Amy to chop down all the trees, obviously because these transmitters don't like trees, and deploy this equipment in the people on top of the people in Sheffield. So they've got no money, but they can find $2 billion to do a secret contract with Amy. Interesting, eh? This is a weapon.
Technology has allowed us many benefits. It's connected us to people and to places, and it's brought us convenience that few could have imagined just 10 years ago. It's also brought us tremendous economic benefits. If we can look at how technology has increased in our lives in just the last 8 years, it started with the iPhone, and then tablet computing, ubiquitous Wi-Fi, the smart meter and the smart home, and wearable tech, and now the Internet of Things. If we could imagine how this would look, it would actually look like this. This is an artist's rendition of what Wi-Fi in our public spaces looks like. We could actually hear what microwave radiation sounds like with a device like this.
This one's already got a sticker on it. Pretty sweet. Seems kind of weird that they're labeled Clinton. Good old Clinton. Something on this one's humming. This one must be busy.
The Notor weapon, I can explain it very, very simply to anybody. Alright? What people have to understand, you see this antenna on the top, any small birds that are light on here, it's in the near field and it'll kill them. It's a reckless environmental crime. So that's another crime they've committed, because what they didn't do was carry out any environmental impact on this deployment. There was no public consultation. They just arrived outside of on your street furniture, care of your local authority. It's ignorance. UN Resilient City Agenda. All your councils are signed up to it. It's basically something that's going to harm you, because the UN, for some inexplicable reason, I don't think they like us. It's either the EU or the UN. It's somebody that doesn't like us, but it's about time that people woke up and saw what's really going on. Now, let's just explain the weapons bit a little bit more in depth. These are the mains come in. It's a 270, 250, 270, depending on where you are. But obviously, the first opportunity you would get would be to step down, so then you don't have to waste money on larger cables. So you see the small cables going into the LEDs, that's them going into housing there. You don't need big cables. Big cables are a lot more expensive, and obviously when you do your design, you want to use as less cost as possible, because obviously there's more profit in it. So what you don't need is that. So you see on the right hand side here, you've actually got a step down, go into those junction boxes, and then they go into them cables down to the LEDs. What we'll see on the left hand side is an increase. So this actually increases the power to these very large cables up through here to this connector, and that connector fits to this connector. That connector then goes up to this box here, which is the antenna.
This exponential rise in microwave radiation can have effects, and that's what scientists and medical doctors around the world are now saying, especially when it comes to children, because they're going to be affected by this their entire lives. medical doctors, high school principals, teachers and students, IT professionals, and even entrepreneurs. These are people who had a normal life and then over a short period of time went to where they could no longer work, where they could no longer go to an office. Some of them actually have had to move out of their homes because they can't be in an environment which is normal now for most people. I've been in touch with people around the world who've become homeless because of this. There's many people that's actually happened to. And unfortunately, I know of people who've actually taken their lives because there's essentially no place they can go. And this is something that society does not yet recognize.
This is 5G, by the way. That is not. Anybody who knows anything about 2G, 3G, go and have a look. Well, it's actually an 868, so it's specifically 5G, by the way. It's specifically 5G in the non-licensed spectrum. Alright, that's for autonomous vehicles, which is another 5G scam, another deployment scam.
Autonomous vehicles will be controlled in the cloud. Smart city energy grids, transportation networks, and water systems will be controlled in the cloud.
See that little tit on the end? Looks like a teardrop. It's a dew. These are the antennas that Wheeler spoke about. You know, he said there were some very clever engineers that had developed antenna systems that can target, acquire, and shoot. Well, this is the shooty.
Brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals, coupled with sophisticated processing that allows a moving device to pick up all of the signals that are bouncing around and create one coherent connection.
Targeting a legal piece of hardware. Alright? We do have the specs on this that was sent to the FCC. Alright, massive power capability, massive spying capability, not, absolutely not a light switch, because that's what they're trying to tell you. They're trying to tell you that this has something to do with switching the lights on and off. Anybody can tell you that's not the case. All heavy duty, and that's what you want. If you're going to punch out a heavy duty EMP, if you're going to use an EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon, you've got to remember there's 31,875. These are fitted to every single streetlight in Gateshead, a very small borough, right, on my countrymen, women and children. We've already seen the nosebleeds, we've already seen the deaths, the increase in brain cancers and the increase in stroke. From 2014 to 16, we had a 23% increase in stroke. And that's pretty obvious because the radiation that we're measuring in bedrooms, illegal in breach of the Council of Europe 1815 resolution. I've got anything up to 2,000 and 3,000 millivolts in people's bedrooms at a significant distance from these transmitters. So it tells you how powerful these transmitters really are, because what they've done, they've built in an urban scanner, but that's only part of the weapon. The real naughty bit is when they get full densification with all the smart equipment. Then what they can do, they can pull what's called an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse weapon. That's what this is. Alright, it's a pure kill grid, total weapons deployment, no health impact analysis, no environmental impact analysis, in breach of the law. That's the law. The law says health impact analysis, environmental impact analysis, councils have a duty to carry out the law, and they haven't carried it out in relation to this deployment. So ask yourself, why have they not? And why have they put a light in your street without the diffuser? I can tell you, once again, this is a 5G LED weapon system. All it is. It's only masquerading as a light.
Let's go to Dr. Devra Davis, founder of Environmental Health Trust and the author of the book Disconnect, to learn more about what she calls practicing safe phone.
The virtual family. Is there anyone here who's worked on the virtual family? It's a really powerful and very sophisticated system that is used today to set standards for medical devices and surgical procedures, but it's not used for mobile phone standards. I find that odd. And I want to show you an example of some of the work that we are doing now that I'm releasing here for the first time. And this is a modeled microwave radiation dose of a 6-year-old with greater levels to the frontal and temporal lobes, eyes and cheek. And watch this here. Now, yellow, white, and red are the hottest, all right? And if you look carefully, you will see it's going into the eye, the nose. Do it again, just so you get to see it. And partly into the brainstem. Now, that's just showing you that there's going to be some exposure into that area of a young head. It doesn't tell you that there's any biological effect, right? Now, the next slide is going to show you something that might be of interest to students and faculty here. And that has to do with exposure to the reproductive organs. We call them the gonads, I think you say the testicles, and bone marrow. And look here at the radiation as it gets into the groin area. And that's just from having a mobile phone modeled into the pocket. And this, again, is based on normalized SAR with a dipole antenna. And there are many different variables you can alter in coming up with this kind of simulation, right? The number of antenna, whether it's GSM, CDMA, whether it's simultaneously operating only one antenna or more than one. But we believe that this is the kind of work that needs to be done and that this institution might be in a position to do it. And my colleagues from Brazil would be happy to share with you the modeling that we have done to date to generate this. But based on this work and other studies that have been done around the world, the United States magazine Consumer Reports recently recommended that nobody keep a phone in their pocket. The microwave oven, the mobile phone, the cordless phone, the Wi-Fi monitor, the baby monitor, they all use the same frequency. They differ in power. They also differ because mobile phones and Wi-Fi devices emit pulsed microwave radiation. It's the pulse, not the power, that appears to be biologically most important. The pulse that is erratic and irregular.
What is it? Electromagnetic radiation. These waves spread across a spectrum from very short gamma rays to X-rays, ultraviolet rays, visible light waves, even longer infrared waves, microwaves, to radio waves which can measure longer than a mountain range. This spectrum is the foundation of the information age and of our modern world. Your radio, remote control, text message, television, microwave oven, even a doctor's X-ray, all depend on waves within the electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic waves, or EM waves, are similar to ocean waves in that both are energy waves. They transmit energy. EM waves are produced by the vibration of charged particles and have electrical and magnetic properties. But unlike ocean waves that require water, EM waves travel through the vacuum of space at the constant speed of light. EM waves have crests and troughs like ocean waves. The distance between crests is the wavelength. While some EM wavelengths are very long and are measured in meters, many are tiny and are measured in billionths of a meter, nanometers. The number of these crests that pass a given point within 1 second is described as the frequency of the wave. One wave, or cycle, per second is called a hertz. Long EM waves, such as radio waves, have the lowest frequency and carry less energy. Adding energy increases the frequency of the wave and makes the wavelength shorter. Gamma rays are the shortest, highest energy waves in the spectrum.
For thousands of minutes a month, for dozens of hours a week, over a lifetime, that irregular pulsed signal may be much more biologically important. And in fact, the continuous wave signals have a lot of therapeutic effects as are being applied in medicine today. Believe it or not, this is the iPotty. Now, this is not a joke. I have actually talked to grandmothers, I'm one of them. My grandchildren did not have an iPotty, I promise you. Their father sometimes acts like he did. A lot of people today take devices into the bathroom all the time, but there are actually young children who will not go to the potty without their iPad. Does anybody know anybody like that? Any kids? This is something that you have to watch to believe it.
Next generation of wireless connectivity, a fifth generation, or 5G. And if the United States is going to continue to be a world leader in wireless, we need to speed the deployment of 5G here on our shores. And it's high-band spectrum that will be the focus of our actions. These bands, the high bands, offer huge swaths of spectrum for super-fast data rates with low latency, and are now becoming unlocked because of technological advances in computing and antennas, 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 and antennas.
The business case for smart controls usually focuses on two things, namely energy savings such as with dimming and trimming and constant light output, and maintenance savings from remote information, meaning less need for inspections and truck rolls. Now, the relative importance and emphasis on these varies in different places in the world according to ownership and operation of lights.
You see these lights, these blue phosphor coated LEDs, pulse modulated. See how dark they are? Before start the experiment, make sure you have a cap, dark glasses. You do not go anywhere near these unless you are fully protective and covered. These are category 2 optical radiation emitters, alright? They're extremely dangerous. It's part of a weapons system. I know people have said, well, how can that be? Well, I'm going to explain exactly how it is. You see how it's really dark, the picture. But what that does, that makes your pupil dilate. Now, people will have seen these lights before and they think, oh, they're not that dark. They're not that dark. Well, they're not that dark. They just spectrally imbalance. And what they do, they make the pupil dilate. So more of this optical radiation enters the eye. It's a 450 nanometers frequency. It is retinal cell toxic. It'll blind you. Alright? Without protective eyewear, as I wear all the time to protect myself from this type of dangerous light radiation. Alright? It's about the most dangerous you can get. Now, the design of the lamp, as you can see, causes glare. Now, it's got no diffuser. They have no diffuser at all on these lights.
Telenz's approach is with an ultra-narrowband radio network. This operates in license-free spectrum, so there are no mobile telephone tariffs built in. It's a very wide area, high-capacity system. Each pole-mounted base station has a range of up to 10 kilometers and a capacity to connect as many as 5,000 streetlights. This makes deployment extremely easy. A whole area can be covered up front, and then units can be installed anywhere in the area and they connect automatically to the system.
There's a reason for that. So it does more harm. Because if people want to know what a weapon is, a weapon's designed to cause bodily harm. That's the definition of a weapon. And obviously these have been designed, they're angled up at the front so they catch your eye, they've got no diffuser, and that is to cause bodily harm. Because the weapons deployment, it's not just happening in the UK, you know. This is happening from New Zealand to US. This is a United Nations plan to kill en masse millions. Believe us. Look at this. Beautiful day. Not a single bird. All we've got, I can hear a Maggie, right? A couple of big old crows and come. Where's all the birds? Where's all the birds, you liars? You liars and deceivers. Telling people that you're 5G safe. Nothing in those trees. Nothing in this park. Nothing in this park. All I can hear is a couple of crows in a tree there. Where's the sparrows? What have you done to sparrows? You've decimated and killed them, haven't you? Eh? That's what 5G does. Small birds first, big birds next. Massive collapse, birds. Listen, listen. Nothing. You can't hear a thing.
Just walked off a street near Sunnyside, probably in Sunnyside actually, just to see if there's no sparrows. I can hear sparrows chirping everywhere, in the trees, blue tits, robins, starlings. I don't think there's been a decimation of bird species at all. Oh look, there's one of those dodgy lampposts, apparently. Do. I can hear bird song everywhere. There's a blue tit calling. There's a flock of sparrows. More sparrows chirping in the tree. Durek. More tits. Sparrows in the hedge. Greenfinch. Blackbird. There is no decimation of bird species in Gateshead. They're fine. Just some people are idiots.
Listen. Nothing. You can't hear a thing.
Sparrows.
Should be all over.
Robins.
Got one magpie there. Couple of maggies.
Starlings.
Seen a couple of crows. No small birds. Well, should be all about and about here now. Isn't any?
I can hear sparrows chirping everywhere.
You see, you can't hide the crime. You cannot hide the crime. You aren't going to be able to hide the death rates the significant death rates, the cancer, the breast cancer, the eye cancers, the brain cancers, you cannot hide them. Do you know that? And what's going to happen? People are going to work it out. Before it's fully deployed, people are going to get it. Because all they're going to see, look at the state of that tree, look at the bark bursting off it. See it? Look. Look. Look at the stress. The stressor. Look at that. All stressed. You can only get criminals, liars and deceivers to support you. That's all you can get. Deceptive, lying, low life. That's all you can get. Truth's coming out. And I'll tell you now, people are waking up. And you lot, for not doing your job and the criminal enterprises you're involved with, I wouldn't like to be you.
There is no decimation of bird species in Gateshead.
War game the science. This issue is far too important to be gamed. It's not a matter of war. It's a matter of the future health of your children and grandchildren.
The technology is here. It is also important, however, to recognize that 5G technology will be a constant evolution. It would be a mistake to think that 5G can be frozen in a snapshot. It's more like a video with many new scenes, all building on each other. The systems and standards for 5G will be continually improving and evolving.
When I grow up, I want to be a dentist. When I grow up, I want to be a ballerina teacher. When I grow up, I want to be a police officer. When I grow up, I would like to be a veterinarian. When I grow up, I'm going to be a flapper.
I've just seen a fantastic video. Don't make me smile. So now that we've found out that the snowflakes, the snowflake UN, snowflake agenda, oh, he speaks too loud, oh, he laughs, oh, he might even raise his voice. I mean, that's absolutely diabolical. I got all that crap at school. Snowflake off, alright, just snowflake off. Not interested. We are fake snowflake. Oh, he's a bit too loud. UN agenda snowflake, because that's what you've been brainwashed into. So now that you're stuck because of the technicalities, it's getting a bit too obvious. It's a bit too obvious now, isn't it? Because you've got to be really, really, really dense, or you've got to have serious mental health issues. We're starting to see that now, aren't we? We're starting to see the madness, the mental health issues coming out. Just go to the doctors and ask for another script. Just go and ask for another script. Because you need one. Because I'll tell you what, see this 5G? This 5G's coming down the pipeline, and you lot, trolls, coming to get you. Coming to get you. And I'll tell you now, you know the people that survive this? Well, it's not you. I can guarantee you. So let's just see how it all pans out. Made it up, did he? Overblew it, did he? We'll just see what happens. Right? Okay. We'll just see who's laughing on the other side of their face when this one comes out. Because believe us, technicalities in the science are fact, are solid. You lot just need to get yourselves organised. I think you better get some better drugs the next time, because that last lot they give you, it's not working, is it? It's the smile that got you, is it? Didn't like that one. Unbelievable. This is absolute, this just shows the madness. This just shows the madness and why it's going to be a clear out. Because believe us, the only people that survive this are the ones that get out of the programme. So Be mindful of that. Justice is coming. Though the heavens fall, let justice be done.
But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way. Run the other way. Run the other way. Run the other way.